What's up guys, my name is Ace, and lately I've been reflecting a little bit on CoD WW2, and it's got me thinking about the future with Black Ops 4. Today I wanted to talk about things that I feel Treyarch can learn from Call of Duty WW2 when going into Black Ops 4. Now of course, I do realize these are different studios, and generally the studio, when they're working on a Call of Duty game, they're kind of working off of their own previous titles. So Black Ops 4 is going to be designed kind of around Black Ops 3, and they're going to push it forward from there. Also, of course, Black Ops 4 is already well into the development, so there will be certain things where if they haven't already implemented them, then they're not likely to be coming in the game. But I still feel there are a few lessons that could be learned from Call of Duty World War II. This is going to be a mix of things that I think CoD World War II did right, and that Black Ops 4 should learn from in a good way, and also some things that Call of Duty World War II didn't do very well, and Black Ops 4 needs to avoid making the same mistakes. So let's start off on a positive note. I think one of the biggest things that I'd love to see Treyarch learn from CoD World War II is the way that they handled the events. The event system that Call of Duty World War II has been using, so I'm talking like the Winter Siege event, the Resistance event, the Blitzkrieg event, and now we're into the Attack of the Undead event. I think these are excellent. Have them so they're themed events, they actually mean something. There's unique limited time gear that you can get through that as long as it's realistically attainable as well. And with each event, bring a bunch of new content. I think this is great for keeping the game fresh. It brings people back that were previously kind of bored of the game and have fallen off and aren't really playing it anymore. Every time a new event drops, we see a big surge of people coming back, or at least it seems like a big surge of people come back and play the game at least for a little bit more while that event goes on. I'll admit part of this is a little bit in my own self-interest as well. As a content creator, these events have been amazing for me. Normally with Call of Duty, everything is really great when the game first launches, and for the first several months, views on videos and everything and just general interest in the game is really high. Then it just starts to taper off for the rest of the year, and it tapers off to pretty much nothing until the hype for the next Call of Duty starts building, and then everything starts to pick up again when it comes to YouTube and streaming and everything like that. With these events, interest in the game on YouTube as well as Twitch, it constantly surges. Every time a new event comes, we get a big surge in interest for the game, and this has really helped a lot for content creators because there's always something new to cover every time we get a new event. So that's the first thing I really hope Treyarch takes from Call of Duty World War II this year, is that event system. Now let's get into something that I feel CoD World War II did a very bad job with, and I hope Treyarch doesn't make the same mistake this year. This is launching with enough content. One of the huge issues with CoD World War II at launch was the fact that it only had 9 regular multiplayer maps. That was by far the lowest number of multiplayer maps we've ever seen in a Call of Duty game, and a lot of people will attribute that to the war game mode, which, I mean, war is fun and everything, but it's not regular multiplayer. It's not the regular multiplayer experience. Treyarch absolutely can't follow suit with that and launch with only like 9 or 10 multiplayer maps. I don't think they will. I'm pretty sure they're not going to have a war mode, so I think it's going to be mainly focused on multiplayer. Plus, when we look at the fact that they aren't doing campaign this year, even though they are doing a battle royale mode, I would think that frees up a bit more space to be working on extra maps for the regular multiplayer experience. So I'm really hoping this time around we get like at least 14 multiplayer maps at launch, kind of like what we were used to in the past with Call of Duty. That's kind of a normal amount of maps to be launching with the game, and I really hope they learn from the failure of Call of Duty World War II at launch with the amount of content. Getting into the third thing that I'd like to see them learn from Call of Duty World War II, this is actually a combination of good and bad. This has to do with the dedicated servers. A good thing that Call of Duty World War II did is it finally upgraded to 60 Hz dedicated servers. That's awesome. A 60 Hz tick rate is great, and I would love to see that return for Black Ops 4. However, as a lot of us have seen in the community, connections aren't that great, especially lately in CoD World War II, and based on everything I can tell, this has to do with, first off, a lack of locations for dedicated servers, especially in certain regions like Southeast Asia as well as the Middle East. And in addition to that, based on what I can tell with my NetDoomer router, CoD World War II doesn't always seem to select the best server for you to be playing on. With my router, I'm able to directly ping the server locations that Call of Duty is using, and I'm frequently put on a server location that isn't the best for me. It isn't ideal, and it's noticeably worse when I'm in-game and playing. Black Ops 4, I feel, really needs to tighten up this area so that your region selection is a lot more strict if you're playing solo. Getting into the fourth lesson I'd like them to learn from CoD World War II, this has to do with game modes. First up, frequent featured modes. So I'm talking about the game modes where if they were just in the game permanently, they probably wouldn't maintain much of a population and they'd probably just die off and people wouldn't play them. But if you bring them every once in a while, just for a weekend or something like that, people can really look forward to that, and the population will be high for those weekends, and then you switch it off to a different one of those types of modes for the next weekend. So game modes like Demolition, for instance, that's the type of mode that doesn't usually get a super high population throughout the year, but if you bring it in as a featured mode every once in a while, people really enjoy that. Another example of that would be the one-shot mode, where it's just sniper rifles and you can go around and quickscope and stuff. If that's a featured mode, people are going to love to play it for that weekend, but if you leave it permanently, it probably would just die off. I think they did start playing around with this a little bit in Black Ops 3, but CoD World War II has done a really good job of making this happen pretty much every weekend. In addition to those frequent featured modes, I think they should have permanent party modes like CoD World War II. For whatever reason, in Black Ops 3, they never really had those permanent party modes. I mean, gun game was around for most of the life cycle of Black Ops 3, but then it kind of comes and goes, it seems like. I really think there should be that place where they have those modes that you don't really take too seriously, they're just for fun. We're talking like gun game, sharpshooter, infected, those types of modes where it's obviously not like regular multiplayer modes where you take it super seriously. It's just those just for fun side modes. I think those are great to always have around as just kind of a change of pace if you're getting bored of the regular multiplayer experience. Getting into the sixth lesson I'd like them to learn from CoD World War II, and this one's relatively minor, but we do know this feature is coming back. This has to do with the play of the game. Now, we do know that Black Ops 4 has play of the game rather than the final kill cam, and I've been seeing a lot of mixed reactions on this from the community. A lot of people really dislike play of the game in CoD World War II, and it's not necessarily the play of the game system itself, it's the way the algorithm is working to choose which play should be the play of the game. In CoD World War II, I don't think they've done a very good job tuning that play of the game system. It seems like very frequently when I see a play of the game, I'm thinking to myself like, whoa, I had a much more impressive play than this one. Like, why are they showing off a sniper getting a headshot when I got a quad feed with an SMG? I think if play of the game is tuned properly so you actually see the coolest and the best play from the game, it would be awesome and far superior to a final kill cam. If, however, it ends up being really lackluster like CoD World War II, then I think it would be a big flop. Getting into the seventh lesson, this one doesn't necessarily relate to gameplay, this is more so with community interaction and engagement. At the beginning of the year, Sledgehammer wasn't doing a great job in this area. However, once the new management took over with Sledgehammer, things have improved significantly. We get weekly community updates right now, and I love this. I hope Treyarch takes note and we see something similar. We see that weekly community update, even if sometimes the community update doesn't really tell us much and they're not always ready to reveal their big plans for everything. It's at least nice to know that they are paying attention to us, they are sticking to that schedule of keeping us updated when they can with things, and oftentimes even them just acknowledging the fact that we don't have too much for you this week, but we are working on something big and we can share more information next week. At the very least, that puts our mind at ease when we start to feel like they're ignoring us and nothing's happening with the game. So I really hope Treyarch follows suit with something like a weekly community update. So finally, getting into the eighth lesson, and this is one that I really want to send off to you guys and see what you think about this, because I'm really curious what the community thinks about this. This is the headquarters. I'm not entirely sure if I want to see a headquarters return in Black Ops 4. I think for some people the headquarters did add some value and people really like the headquarters system and they'd be really disappointed to see it gone, but on the other side of that, I feel like headquarters is pretty unnecessary in Call of Duty. I think a big thing that shows just how unnecessary it is over the past several months, we've been getting more and more of those headquarters features just added into regular multiplayer menus like we've had access to before. So at this point, there's really not much reason to ever even enter the headquarters. And as a result, I kind of see the headquarters system as a gimmick. But at the same time, I realize for a lot of people, they really enjoyed that. And this is why I want to send that off to you guys. What lesson do you think they should learn from the headquarters in CoD World War II? Do you think they should bring it back? Do you think they should scrap it entirely? Or do you think maybe they should just pull certain elements from the headquarters, like the firing range or a 1v1 pit, but put them into regular multiplayer menus so you don't have to boot up that headquarters all the time? Let me know what you're thinking about that in the comment section below, as well as any other thoughts and other lessons you'd like Black Ops 4 to learn from Call of Duty World War II. What mistakes did CoD World War II make that you'd like to see Black Ops 4 avoid? And what are some other things that you think CoD World War II did a really good job with that you'd like to see return in Black Ops 4? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.